Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel, and today I'm back with another career mode. It's been a little while, but here we are for the Belgian GP qualifying in today's video. Last video was split into two chunks, if you haven't already seen that, guys. It was the Hungarian GP race, full of action, a really fun one, interesting one, plenty of action. If you haven't watched that, then I would advise to go and watch it. Watch the first one before the second one. It's a pretty simple thing, but just watch the first one before the second one, because it goes better when you watch the race before you get the race results, So I'd watch the first one, the second one, after the first one, so that it doesn't wreck it. But I'm going to give you a little bit of time to click off the video, but I'm going to go, of course, to the results of last race, and it was an interesting one with some grid penalties. Of course, you had the likes of I think it was Sainz, Norris, Ricciardo. I think all three of them took engine penalties. Plenty of drivers further down the grid. The Alpines took engine penalties. Plenty of drivers further down the grid who took engine penalties, and that certainly spiced things up. But sadly, because it started raining, it meant that everyone had to go for a two-stopper, not just those who started on the softs, which took all those who were going for the one-stopper and were in the top 10 because they didn't have any grid penalties and others did, out of the equation, which was a bit of a shame for them. In terms of your championship, a massive race last time out. Max Verstappen's DNF means he drops further away from Valtteri Bottas. He's now 43 points behind with 3 races to go. Bottas can actually win the championship this weekend. It would certainly be an interesting one, but he can win the championship because he needs a 53-point lead. How many wins has he got? He has 3 wins. Verstappen has 2. If he was to win, yeah, he'd probably want a 53. Yeah, a 53-point lead by the end of Belgium would give him the championship, basically. He would have won. Of course, if it's 52, then technically he hasn't won. It's still possible for Verstappen to claw it back, but then he'd have to win it on race wins. And then I think it would go to second place as then third. So I think Bottas technically would win. But if he does win the Belgian Grand Prix and Verstappen finishes P2, he could well have won the championships. That DNF mechanical failure for Verstappen last time out was really costly. Meanwhile, Bottas went for a dominant win to extend his lead. Hamilton with a disappointing P4 claws back to Verstappen because he finished, but he's dropping further away from his teammate and pretty much out the title fight at this stage in the championship. Charles Leclerc currently P4. If he can stay there, that would be an amazing feat from the Ferrari driver. Another lovely P2. This time, of course, getting that from Verstappen DNFing. But 82 points for him. Really quite interesting there. He's only 7 behind Hamilton. Some bad results for Hamilton. He hasn't taken any grid penalties yet. Leclerc has. So some bad results for Hamilton. And Leclerc could actually get into the battle for the top 3. That would be fantastic to see when he's in that slower Ferrari. Perez, again, another third place. He is still yet to get a second or a first, which does mean he's on 81 points, 1 behind Leclerc. Then there's a huge gap back to us. We lead Carlos Sainz by 6 points. Then Daniel Ricciardo, 2 points behind Carlos, with Gasly 5 back from there. Can expect maybe Carlos and Danny Rick to get past us at the last 3 Grand Prix. But we're going along nicely. We've got dropped away from the top 5, but we're certainly still ahead of Sainz and Ricciardo. But it wouldn't be surprising if those two are fighting to get back ahead of us, especially with 3 of our weaker racers probably coming up. Then you've got Pierre Gasly, all right, down there. at the moment, of course, you know, solid result last time out with a P5. He's going along nicely. He's looking actually pretty solid to stay ahead of Lando Norris, possibly, but some good results from Lando Norris would get him back towards his teammate. He currently has 27, 10 points behind. Vettel has settled in to P11. Tsunoda, 6 points behind in P12. He could still claw that back. And then Lance Stroll, the only other person to have scored. Alpines are still yet to score. In the constructors, Mercedes lead Red Bull, Ferrari and McLaren. Mercedes have pretty much won it. They've got a massive lead there. Meanwhile, Ferrari, P3, are pretty much just P3. They can't really be caught by McLaren, but they're not going to gain it back to Red Bull. So the top 3, in fact 4, are looking very likely. The only real change we could have is us versus AlphaTauri. It's that battle for P5 towards the end of this season. That's going to be an exciting one. It's going to be us versus Tsunoda and, of course, Pierre to try and stay there. I'm hoping we can. It's going to be a difficult one, though, to stay P5. I'm excited for it, you know, but it's going to be a tough one because I think they've got more pace over us. We might drop down to P6 in that. Aston Martin, P7 at the moment. In no man's land, Alpine, Alfa Romeo, Williams and Haas yet to score. In the R&D at the moment, you can see Alpine just dropped away. They're not coming back, and they're just sat there with Alfa Romeo just behind. We've actually got a lot of R&D points here. We are getting that upgrade complete, the rear wing upper flap. I could go for the barge boards. Yeah, I think we'll go for the barge boards. That'll be in for the COTA Grand Prix. That's got 34 days on it. I'm not going to go for anything else on the chassis. Powertrain side of it. Starters, reshaped combustion changer, fuel efficiency or ERS. We're going to go with a bit of ERS. Going to go with that. We're really at the top there. And we've got some more upgrades on the durability done. We have unlocked these two. In fact, 30% off that one. Let's get that one in too. Might as well get a few smaller upgrades in, and then I would do that one. We can't sadly get that one, so we're going to go for another chassis upgrade. That'll be in for COTA. A huge R&D push at the moment for COTA. You can see we've got all these upgrades. Yes, mostly minor, but they're going to be in for COTA, and that should really boost us for the last 2 races of the season. In terms of activities, not long until the season break. We got 400 because that ERS fault last time, just in case any of you are interested. We've got a decent amount of money at the moment. Pretty much everything's spec 1 apart from marketing. It's a bit of a difficult one to decide whether to go for stuff at the moment because in the driver market, you've got plenty of drivers there to sort of choose from for next season. Of course, I'm looking at Norris and Leclerc. Leclerc, 91 focus. His teammate signs 94. That's probably the key to success. If we compare him to my teammate, you can see quite a bit better there. But Leclerc, you know, he's 9 million market value these days. It's quite a chunk. So we need to really start saving up for him for the end of the season. In terms of the vehicle, the ICE 53%, continue with that. Continue with the MG UK and the MG UH. The energy store is looking a little bit worn. We're going to get a new energy store in for the last 3 races. Turbocharger is alright for another Grand Prix, and the CE certainly alright for another Grand Prix. So those are no engine penalties for this weekend. Let's continue along.
Got an issue we'd like your input on.
We don't have a choice in this one. A recent message from IT and security are under threat from hackers. It's just software. Whilst our systems are up to date, they suggest we put some time into additional training to ensure our teams know how to reduce the risks. We don't have a choice because we can't lose 500 R&D. We don't have that, so we're going to gain 500 R&D.
To pass on their thanks for helping out.
For 20k. I don't exactly want to be losing money at the moment, but it's okay. Let's head to the press interview. We'll have a go at the press interview. See what Mr. Will Buxton is going to ask us about.
Well, it's great to be back at your headquarters, and I've got to say, an awful lot's changed since we were last here. Let's dive in with some questions.
A recent survey found that your staff have the highest employee satisfaction of all the F1 teams. That's quite the accolade. In your opinion, what makes you the best team to work for in Formula One?
Yes, definitely. I think it's the pride that we put our... Yeah, definitely, mate. We're definitely the best with staff. We'll go with that.
Sources inside your team have described the environment as a pressure cooker, with growing concerns about how much pressure your staff are under to hit deadlines. Care to comment?
My God, he's contradicted himself. He says, we've got the best employer satisfaction. And now... I actually, there's this pressure cooker. What a load of rubbish. Sometimes sacrifice needs to be made to hit the development goals. This is what it takes to become a bit of the rest. I don't think it's true at all. I think it's very much business as usual. Team consistency. We'll go with that one. Sounds like the best option.
We've been hearing rumours that your teammates struggling to cope with the workload at the moment. Is there a worry this could start to impact their performance?
We'll go with that.
Your team's had their first win in Formula One. Is this a sign of things to come?
With a chassis, because they've got a good chassis.
Your facilities here are looking a little dated compared to other teams. Is there a reason for that?
We'll go
It's
with
been
that.
wonderful to spend some time with you. Best of luck out on track.
Well, Will Buxton has just contradicted himself, which is pretty nice. We shall head back then.
The team's income is looking very robust right now. It's time for you to have a think about our profit margin and what areas of the operation might benefit from that money.
Right then, well, time for the season break. Let's head towards the other side. Well, as usual, before quali, the R&D chart, Red Bull extending their lead on Mercedes. Despite the huge lead in the R&D they have, they can't really capitalise on it when it comes to race results. They're going to need a good end to the season if they want to catch back up to the Mercs. But they have a pretty comfortable lead there, I have to say. A pretty comfy lead at the top. They've extended it. It's a big gap. Ferrari, however, haven't made much progress at all. McLaren right back with them. That is looking like the battle's closing back up again, but Ferrari being so far ahead with better focused drivers, they're probably going to be able to finish ahead of McLaren come the end of the season. But you've got, of course, Red Bull and Mercedes so far apart that Mercedes are closer to Ferrari by a little bit than they are to Red Bull. It's all go in the standings, really, when you look at it. But Ferrari and McLaren back close again, which means AlphaTauri, once again, in no man's land. They're quite a massive chunk now behind McLaren, despite being close back at the French GP. Just behind then, we have ourselves, and we've moved just up above Aston Martin. Then Alpine and Alfa Romeo glued together, it does seem, since the French GP. Alpine minimally ahead, those two pretty identical, but they've really caught up to Aston Martin. So they're in the midfield fight. Haas and Williams certainly aren't, but Haas start to move a little bit ahead of Williams. There's your order. Red Bull need to capitalise on this R&D this weekend, but hopefully we can have a battle for P3 in a sense in terms of the teams, and then a midfield fight containing not just what we've seen as 4 teams. It's been 3 for the last few Grand Prix, but now we've got 5 teams in the midfield fight. It's going to be an exciting one. Hopefully Alfa Romeo can get in the mix with Alpine this weekend for some points. I do, however, have some news. A regulation change has been announced here at Spa. Of course, the aero, chassis and durability remaining fine, but the powertrain, we have a little bit at risk. To be fair with you, though, it's only in the engine power. So we're looking pretty comfy there. Just the ignition system and the spark plugs. We're probably going to go with the spark plugs. We're going to go with the engine power ignition system first. That's now been protected. We need a bit more R&D. Only 79 to save those spark plugs for the moment. That shouldn't take that much. We'll get some more after free practice. But there is one regulation change. Sadly, unfortunately, Frustratingly, it's not that big, so it won't shake up the order that much. But at least we've got something to spice up the order. Let's get into some quali here at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. Q1 then, and once again, it is dry. We have a dry quali session and a dry race. Everything's going to be dry. Might see a bit of cloud, but it's going to be sunny at Spa, and hopefully it will be brightening up for us in terms of a good quali result. Mazepin, the first of those heading out onto his first flying lap. You can see it's lovely weather here at Spa, of course, in Q1 at a long track. We do need to get out there and put a lap in. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go out there on this set of softs and hopefully put something reasonably competitive in to... That might be enough to get us out of Q1. However, I do think we will definitely need 2 runs in this session. And you need to get out there because it is quite a long lap around here at Spa. So you can't exactly go for multiple like you would be able to at a track like Red Bull Ring. Well, another historic track here, Spa, and we're out at a sunny one today. Virtually no clouds in the sky. Of course, you do get kicked out quite... well, you got quite a bit of a lap to do at Spa when you go out for your flyer before you can actually get onto it. Mazepin has gone quickest here. First driver to finish his flyer, and that will probably be topped, and it is, by Tsunoda, who's into the 1 minute 46s. A solid lap from the young Japanese driver. We need to push Leclerc in the 1 minute 45s. It's not been the best of starts to our Q1 session here. Neither is it a long Q1 session here. Bottas tops the charts for Mercedes despite struggling a tad in free practice. I can tell you, free practice was a success for us, getting plenty of R&D points. We have now secured everything in the powertrain department, so it didn't cost us much at all. Pretty simple to do. Shame there's not bigger R&D changes, because it would be nice if we could have something to really shake up the order a bit more for Season 2. But we're going pretty nicely at the moment. Verstappen now goes quickest. Will anyone top him here in Q1? Of course, the big boys are just getting started here. This is their warm-up Q1. It's their quick bit of a practice for them, because their actual challenge comes later in Q3 and maybe Q2 if they try to use the mediums. We're coming towards the end of our lap. It's not been the best so far here. It's not been the worst. We'll definitely be able to improve. Tyre wear pretty low at the moment on these. It was a bit more in free practice earlier on the softs, but there's Nikita Mazepin, currently P9, out of those cars who have gone out. Virtually everyone out on track. We do go slowest, but no fear. Electric Van 77 is here and ready to go for his second flyer.
We've only got 2 laps of fuel left.
2 laps of fuel left, but that'll be enough to get us to the end of this one. I generally don't go well on my first lap. We need to go again. We need to put in a better lap. Of course, you do get 3 sets of softs instead of mediums for Q1 and Q2, plus an extra set for Q3. That is providing you make it there. We probably won't. Today, I don't think we've got the pace. I'll be happy if we can make it out of Q1. I think that's really the target for Spa. And something has flashed up on the engine. Wonder what that is. Be interesting to see. 60%. Yeah, we're fine. We're fine. Only 60%. No problems there. No problems. We'll be able to replace them for the final 2 of the season. But we are going along nicely this lap. Not too much better than last lap. We're not that clean through this section, but we've got to focus on exits out of here. It's all about the exit, not the entry, isn't it? Providing you're not slowing down to 0 mph to get the exit that you want. We're going quicker this lap. Not quick enough, to be fair with you. The engine, of course, yes, 60%. That'll be fine. We know that'll be fine. It'll make it to the end of the race weekend. Certainly will do, because we're not exactly going anywhere quickly in quali, so we won't be getting that much running if we continue at this rate. But we're coming towards the end of the lap to finish it. We're going to go a bit quicker. Still not quick enough. Let's return to the pits. Here is your order after the first runs in Q1. Sergio Perez and Max Verstappen, the two Red Bull drivers, separated by barely anything. They're P1 and 2. Meanwhile, McLaren have found some pace. So has young Brit Lando Norris, going as well as he did in quality at Spa in real life in 2021. He is going well in P3 there, with Bottas, the highest placed Mercedes, in P4. He is struggling, and you can see that McLaren are going pretty nicely with Danny Rick there, Gasly all the way up there, then Lewis Hamilton down in P7. You know, it's not over for Verstappen in the championship, with Bottas struggling and Hamilton really struggling. He's pretty much out the title fight if he continues that through quali. Leclerc and Sainz struggling for pace. The Ferraris aren't going that great this weekend, P8 and 9, with Yuki Tsunoda in P10. Good work from the Japanese driver, taking advantage of a strong AlphaTauri. Then you've got Vettel and Alonso, the two world champions, sat there, with Antonio Giovinazzi P13, Raikkonen P14. The Alfa Romeos taking advantage of where they are in the R&D to be ahead of Lance Stroll and Esteban Ocon. Stroll with low focus, Ocon with a very similar car to the Alfa Romeos. Then my teammate Robert Schwartzman 17th, with Schumacher ahead of Russell for once. That's really good work from Mick. Then Latifi, ourselves, and Mazepin. So in the drop zone at the moment, Mazepin, ourselves, Latifi, Russell, Schumacher, Schwartzman. We all need to go again. Plus, I would probably say Ocon, Stroll, Raikkonen, Giovinazzi, Alonso, Vettel, and maybe Tsunoda. Everyone else should be safe, but we need to get out there. We need to put another lap in. I've done a quick rundown, fresh set of softs. We need something good for the end of this quality session. Well, then here we go. End of Q1. If I've timed it to perfection here, we should start our lap with no traffic in front of us. That might be wrong, because two cars are now going out. That's a Haas and a Williams, so I doubt we'll be ahead of them, despite them having to get out the pits. Hopefully, we can have two flyers here. That's generally the target, if you guys know my quali sessions. But actually, they are way ahead of us, and we're comfortably ahead of Vettel. It's a poor start to the lap. Maybe getting a bit distracted by what's been happening there, but we've got to push. We've got to put everything into this lap and next lap, of course, unless we're not going to be going through to the next part of quali here, and it is going to be a frustrating result, and that's not what we need here at Spa. When we've got the last three races of the season and we're fighting AlphaTauri in the constructors, we need good quali results and good race results. No engine penalties, of course, for us this weekend. Does mean that we are going to be looking pretty good, potentially, to gain a few places from other drivers who are taking engine penalties. How many will, I don't know, but there's certainly some drivers who haven't taken engine penalties yet this season, and there are some who have taken them at Hungary, so could have a bit of a reverse of what we saw at Hungary. Definitely seeing some quick Ferraris and McLarens maybe up near the top. They've already taken penalties. This lap for us isn't much quicker, to say the least. We are going to go quicker, but not by an adequate amount here. We need to push something more into it, but I can't get it out the car. You know, I don't want it to be too consecutive Q1 finishes, but it's certainly looking likely here as we absolutely lock up into the final corner, and that's I've pushed it too far. I thought I'd just send it. We're going to go again.
2 minutes left in this session and we're in the drop zone. We need a quick lap, or that's qualifying over for us.
I think quali might be over whatever happens, but it'd be nice if we don't start P22. There we go. Now we're starting to put something in. That's a good start to the lap. Now we need to apply this to the rest of the lap. We need to get 3 decent sectors here, as we didn't take the smoothest lines. Neither do you want to dip your front wheel there. Quite a few cars out on track, I have to say. Maybe a few more than necessary. You don't know really in this. We saw You know, of course, the British Grand Prix, how much people improved, but of course that was because of wet conditions. It isn't very wet here today. The only specks of water are little droplets of sweat coming off the drivers today, so that's pretty much all that's running down at the circuit. We're going much better this lap. I've found the rhythm, and that is that what we needed in this quali session is the rhythm. Tell me in the comment section below if you've ever spun at Poo on. If you haven't, tell me how you haven't, you know? I think everyone has, thankfully. We haven't today. It's a pretty simple one once you've done it once, just not to do it again. And we messed up a bit there. Now we've got to push. Oh, always hate that corner. Behind, that's Seb Vettel running at us. But we've gone a lot quicker this lap. 1 1/10. We just need to keep it clean for the bus stop chicane. Not take any risks. Not lose any time. Because we don't want to be dropping any further back in the order as we're going to finish the lap. And that was a competitive lap time. But the others are going to have to come across the line still here in quali. So whether that will be good enough or not, I'm not entirely sure. Alonso up there, P13. Giovinazzi's gone quicker. We are P14. How many drivers are going to go quicker here? That's the question. We're down to P15. Still a few more drivers to finish. P16. God. Don't improve, please. Don't it? No one improve. Come on. Is that... I think we're pretty much safe. Oh, no. Our teammate's taken it from us. Oh, what a shame. We're going to return to the pits. It's not to be. Oh, P18 now. What a shame. But we gave it everything. And it's not too bad of a quali result, really, is it? Well then, what a quali session there. Knocked out in Q1 yet again, like we were in Hungary. But I'm not too shabby with that. That's not too shabby. I felt like I got that pace. I felt like I had that rhythm, and that's what I wanted. I wanted to put in a decent lap. And we put that in. We're right next to our teammate, P18. It's not a disaster. It's not fantastic. It's not the end of the world. Also out in Q1, we've lost both the Williams and both the Haas's. No real surprises there. Russell got back ahead of Schumacher. Mazepin ahead of Latifi. But let's have a look at the top, because this is where it's spicy. Perez and Verstappen really close. Of course, we don't get to see the results of Q2 and 3 until we get to the grid. And grid penalties have already been added on then. So, you know, the order could look a little bit different. But Checo Perez P1 and Max Verstappen P2, that is an interesting one. They've got a lot of pace compared to Mercedes. Nearest Mercedes, Valtteri Bottas, 6/10 and a chunk behind the top Red Bulls. It's quite shocking. I wasn't expecting, you know, the Red Bulls to be so dominant this weekend. Really wasn't expecting that. I knew they'd be dominant, but I didn't think they'd be dominant by that much from Mercedes. You know, it's a bit of a surprise there. Lando Norris, P2. McLaren looking really good with P3 and P6. They were ahead of Ferrari's Charles Leclerc, who didn't go out again. Carlos Sainz did go out again, but still couldn't go quicker than Norris. McLaren have caught up to Ferrari, and it looks like this is their track. You've got long straights, you've got fast-flowing corners in the first and final sector, and because of that, it's much more of a McLaren track than a Ferrari track. I think when we head to sort of like Mexico, that's going to be a real Ferrari track. I think they'll probably succeed there, but McLaren using that power unit, and that's P3 and 6. They're looking good to beat Ferrari this weekend, but they need to do a lot more than that if they want to get ahead of them in the constructors. Valtteri Bottas, P5, and Lewis Hamilton, P8. Bottas is looking the better of the two. We've seen that consistently throughout the season. He is the better of the two drivers in this season. But they're quite a chunk behind Red Bull, and Red Bull need a good result this weekend. But if they really do dominate, and both cars ahead of both Mercedes, and they get a P1 and 2, you never know. You never know. You know, they could possibly claw it back by the end of the season because they have got the better car. We'd have to wait and see. But that's pretty interesting there. Of course, Pierre Gasly, P7, once again, running along nicely. It's solid quality from him. Alpine's Fernando Alonso, P9. Pretty happy for the Spaniard there to be P9. Of course, did go again. We know he's going to be putting in some good results this season. well, towards the end of it, because the Alpine's getting back up to the midfield fight with the Alfa Romeos. Yuki Tsunoda, P10, another good result from the Alpha Tauri driver. He'll be hoping he can fight to get out of Q2. Hopefully he can for the first time this season. Charles Leclerc, P11 for Ferrari. The Monegasque looking pretty good. You know, he's consistent. He's a bit off his teammate and the McLarens, but he's got such a lead that it's not going to cause him too much problems. I think that this weekend isn't Ferrari's weekend. I think we'll see that the boost probably fairly equal at Cota between them and McLaren, and then they'll probably have the advantage at Mexico. But Leclerc's got such a strong lead that his job's actually probably to fight with Perez and Hamilton. If the Red Bull are that quick, maybe his job's to fight with Hamilton to catch up to him in the drivers. The Aston Martins through Vettel and Stroll, despite Stroll's low focus. Kimi Raikkonen and Antonio Giovinazzi, P14 and 15. The two Alfa Romeo drivers are out of Q1. Nice to see that happening. It doesn't happen that often, but both of them are out, taking advantage of where they are in the R&D. And then Esteban Ocon scaves through by a couple of tenths there for Alpine. He's been struggling recently, despite his teammate, P9. Of course, Schwartzman, ourselves, Russell, Schumacher, Mazepin and Latifi, all out of quali. Disappointing-ish P18. I knew we were going to struggle this weekend. We got a lot more competition from Alfa Romeo and Alpine. The job is to fight up the order in the race and hopefully have some good battles. That's what we need. And that's what we want. But alongside our teammate, hopefully we can push up the field together for a good result. But that's it for this video. We only end up with Q1 and ourselves, Schwartzman, Russell, Schumacher, Mazepin and Latifi out. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Another lovely quali video. And then, of course, I'll be bringing you the race video very soon. But as always, if you haven't already, please consider hitting the like button. Even more importantly, totally free, hit the subscribe button. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll catch you next time for the race.